All right. Hello, 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 everyone. My name is Diamond Rivera of Diamond Rivera Films, and you are tuned into season 3 of Live Discussions with Diamond. And today I have a really special guest all the way from the DC area, from Dance to Beat, the one and only Brian Le.
Hi guys.
Yeah, man. Brian, I'm really stoked to have you. For me, I've been following your dance journey for quite some time as a videographer, as a former dancer, but just a person who's in the community. I've definitely followed a lot of dancers like yourself that really are just bringing their own flavor to this dance world, especially in the bachata game, really introducing that fusion and just having things make sense. And for me, watching you even when I'm doing my teachings or my videos in Dallas, the Dallas Bachata Festival, really getting to understand you and know you. It's been a really a huge pleasure with you and also Adriana. One thing I can say, at least before we really get started and everything, I'm so amazed that a person like yourself with such an influence in your community is so humble. And I can say that very well-hearted because we realize in a dance culture like what we have, when a lot of artists are deemed as headliners, a lot of times things just go over people's head and they don't realize the impact that they can make on a lot of the people in their communities. And I've noticed for a couple years, especially being able to talk to you privately, but also watching you on stage and watching you doing your demos and workshops, you just have a very calming presence about yourself, a very inviting attitude. And again, I commend that. I thank you, you and Adriana from Dance to Beat, for really being some really important figures in our dance community from the past, present, and towards the future. And about what you guys have been doing, especially during this COVID time that we're going to really get into. But before we get started, how are you doing thus far with everything going on?
I've been doing good. I've been staying busy. COVID definitely has really challenged me to really grow as a person. Obviously, it affect the whole dancing part, but otherwise, I can safely say I am healthy and I'm fortunate to be where I am, and I'm just happy and content.
Yeah, absolutely. And just like I tell a lot of my guests during our interview, you'll probably be seeing some real live comments coming in as we speak. For example, Kimchi himself, the guy out here. I love
Big
this guy.
fan.
He's definitely sent so much praise about you, and he was one of the people telling me constantly like collaborated with one another, and I appreciate it. And for me, as well, other past interviews, I've also been learning some more information about you that we're going to get into. But first, I would love to know, and for myself and for the audience as well, let's take it like we understand Dance to Beat and who Brian Le is now, but I would love to take it back to the beginning, understanding where did the dance journey start for you? From all the way from the first steps until now, in a sense.
Oh man. Okay. So about me, dancing started for me when I was 19 or 20. At that time, well, let's rewind it a little bit. I never danced my entire life. My view on dancing at that moment of time was that, you know what, dance is for mostly women or if it's men, like it's not manly men, right? So that was my viewpoint. However, it's like what changed, I guess, was I was looking for a summer job. I was working for retail and I did not like it. And I saw a newspaper ad. This is when jobs were on newspapers, right? You would look through the classified findings or job findings or whatever. And it said Fred Astaire was looking to hire experienced instructors or people who are the right candidates to train. At that time, my friends knew that I don't like dancing at all, but they said that they dared me to do it and they would give me $50 if I did. I was like, yeah, dude, okay, I'll take the free $50. If I gain the job, if I win the job, okay, that's great. If I don't, then I don't. Tried out and I ended up getting selected to train. And I thought it was a joke. I thought I was getting punked. I wasn't. And it wasn't until I went to my first ballroom competition that I really fell in love with dancing. Just the way that people were able to move so majestically, so powerful, with such body control, that really sold me. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna like try to be serious about this. So for those that don't know, Fred Astaire is one of the big two ballroom franchises in the U.S. There's Arthur Murray and there's Fred Astaire. And so when I was working with Fred Astaire, and this is when I was living in Massachusetts, I worked there for a little over a year. And then I moved to Virginia and I worked briefly with Arthur Murray and then Elan Dance Sport. And that is where I met Kat. But before I got into bachata in Massachusetts at the time, there was no really Latin dancing. And if there was, it's salsa only. No one knew about bachata or cumbia, or merengue. And when I moved down here to Virginia, that's when I was exposed to bachata. And I remember when I first was exposed to it, it was just 3 steps tap, 3 steps tap. I was like, okay, this is not really as fun as it looks, like salsa. But then it was when I saw on YouTube Ataca y Alamana.
Yes.
They made it look really cool. They made it look like, okay, I really want to do that. I want to emulate my dance somewhat like that. And that is where I started to pursue bachata. And even though I was still learning it and I was still learning ballroom, like I really started to grow my love for bachata. And it was actually, there's this individual, his name is Benny. He was pushing me to have a bachata team or a team that focuses on bachata. And at that time, at least Northern Virginia, there wasn't really a bachata team, and bachata was very new, not just in Northern Virginia, but everywhere.
Yeah.
So it took a lot of pushing from him, but I ended up doing it, and that's how DNC2Beat was created.
Gosh.
And other than that, fast forward 13 years later, here I am. So I've been dancing for 13 years. Bachata, probably like 11, 10 years.
Wow. And that's amazing, because realizing that you had it wasn't that you were based out of Virginia, but you were based from Massachusetts area. And I definitely agree with you, because my experience as a dancer, I was a salsa dancer first. And Boston, very, very, very heavy in salsa. Boston Salsa Festival is like a trademark. And for many guests that I've had on previously, you and the others have a very similar notion, is that and a lot of the areas that they're brought up in terms of the dance world, especially bachata, it's still been a very new trend. It's been a very new experience, I would say, in the last 10 years, 10 to 11, 12 years, especially after Ataca La Mana, when really they pushed out, and in terms of then creating a franchise like Island Touch could inspire people, because again, through YouTube, you were seeing like, wow, there's a new world out there, and there's something, there's the music, but then, wow, there's a way of dancing it that I can find interest in it, and realizing that through a dare, through a dare that you actually, and I think it's kind of karma. It was inevitable. Something was bound to catch you, and it's amazing that 13 plus years later, that now you're a teacher, and really now being an instructor and educator for people in the Virginia area, or in the Virginia and DMV area, because from my understanding too, and I completely agree, is that DC is one of the hot staples in terms of bachata dancing, in terms of like venues like the Salsa Room, and also in terms of dancers, because yourself, Adriana, Kat, and a lot of Bree who's out there right now, but Andrea, Ciara, just the list goes on. There's so many dancers that I've seen, especially in DC and in DMV area, that really I appreciate that a lot of you are focused not just on dancing, but the education part of it too. And for me, a question I definitely have is, when you first started the dancing, did you get, I know you said before that, there was kind of a stigma on how, what dancing is or who should be dancing. When you started the dancing experience, was there a lot of pushback at first, or it was kind of everyone just full support?
Oh yeah, there was pushback. So when I started dancing, So before I even fell in love or stumbled upon dancing, I was focused
Hmm.
on my education at that time. I was studying to be a psychologist. And so when I stumbled upon dancing, I was still focused on my studies, but then it came to a point where I had to pick either dancing or my education, my studies, right? So I actually, it took a lot of back and forth, but I ended up picking dancing. But my parents were the biggest non-supporters at that time. I can safely say they are much different in terms of viewpoint on dance. They support it. I wouldn't say fully because they're very generational. I think this goes for most older Asian generations, where it's very
Hmm.
typical where they want their kids to be either anything in healthcare or being a lawyer or
Yes.
any of those type of jobs. So dancing was something that they didn't really view as something that would be sustainable or that it's something that is like great. So I would always hear it from my parents all the time. They were the first and consistent pushback that I would experience. And now it's just to a point where like now my mom just actually went to the first practice of mine last Sunday out of
Mm.
13 years out of 13.
Wow.
So um, that was the biggest consistent pushback. The other one was, it wasn't as big, was actually the Hispanics in terms
Hmm.
of like the community. Like if I was go to a Latin club and they would really give me weird looks. I don't know Spanish a lot, but I would hear them say like Chino Balar or like just like dirty looks or anything. And then I would see their reactions when I start dancing. They do a complete 360. But
Hmm.
it's just like, I think because I'm usually the only Asian that goes to these Hispanic outings or clubs,
Hmm.
they're like, okay, was this, is this Chino crazy or anything like that? So I would still see that from time to time if I go to those type of settings.
Yeah.
It was very prevalent in the beginning, but not as much anymore.
Got you. And to be honest, when you did talk about the family aspect, that goes a lot as well with a lot of Hispanic, but like you said, the older generation, the old school mentality. Because as well, I have a lot of Asian friends myself, and they've had the same exact type of upbringing of your family wants you to be successful in medical education, anything that's not recreational, and because they feel that this type of profession of what I mean of dance is not going to be financially beneficial to you as a long term. But then you don't understand that if this is a passion of yours and you understand that, of course, it can be made into a business. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, if you're doing it with the right intentions and like yourself, 13 plus years later, putting in that 10,000 plus hours in to make sure you're doing what you love, but also you're gaining and getting a reward back from that.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to hear that, no matter how long it took for your mom to actually come, she came
Yeah.
to a practice. So of course it can mean a lot. And I appreciate it. And to be honest with you, many people who don't know, I myself, I'm a Hispanic male who's mixed, but I don't speak Spanish. So me and you have had the same, and I definitely understand what you mean is that with the Hispanic community, they can definitely have that pushback of a person that does not look like them. But it's unfortunate because we're all here for the same reason, is to dance.
Mm-hmm.
And the topic you're talking about is so true, and it's happened, but a lot of people are quiet about it because we don't want to focus on that. But
Yeah.
these are topics that are deep rooted, and when they're exposed like this, it means a lot. And even as we're talking here, you'll see with the comments here, I don't know who's this specifically, but somebody writes chinos can dance too, and then it says Asian parents of dances be like dishonor, and that's something. Yes, yeah.
It is
Whoever
kind of
is,
true though, whoever
yeah,
this is.
yeah. It'll definitely show up, but you understand too is that your journey. There's someone else that went through that. There's someone else that understands completely, so they know they're not alone. And one thing I can say definitely of the past few years that I've been able to be introduced to you while in Dallas was honesty. when I saw you and Adriana specifically dancing, and we'll get into how you guys came together with Dance to Beat and everything from that. But realizing when you were dancing, it looked just so fluid. It because what I can say is, as a videographer per se, that when I'm filming, there are dancers that look like they're trying to time their steps. They're trying to make sure everything is correct, and you can look at them. And I'm sorry, while we were talking, the person who was that was Varak Chang out there, man. But it's when I saw you guys even teaching and performing, the fluidity, just like you just had a clean cut approach, because I can tell as a dancer, you know what you're doing. And that's something that a lot of dancers seem to lack, is they're so nervous, and it's okay to be nervous. But when you're dancing, you just look like you got it and you're having fun with it. Because, I mean, understanding that you are a teacher and you have a huge responsibility to your students, but at the same time, realizing that you want to inspire people on and off the stage.
Yes.
And that definitely means a lot. And I think you were talking about Benny, and we have Benny here. And saying he taught ballroom to his peers at Nova Community College and bachata at George Mason, a way to plant the dance seed inside young hearts and see those students grow into great social and performance dancing even today. And that means a lot, because you realize that even as you're telling a story, the people who are there are listening, and realizing that how many people you've impacted. So understanding now, when Dance to Beat came out, how was the creation of that really like? What was it? Just the years of learning and learning you wanted to create it, or was it kind of a spontaneous moment that had?
Man, honestly, it was spontaneous for sure. Now that I look back at it. And I remember I was even trying to figure out a name, and actually Kat was helping me trying to figure out the name too. And I remember we were at her studio at Lawn Dance Sport behind the front desk, and they're trying to figure out names. And I was like, man, okay, I got to give like a clever name to this that has meaning. So for those that don't know what Dance to Beat stands for, right? So Dance to Beat, or actually Dance to Beat. So the beat of the music, right? Headphones, and the beat of your heart. So when you're dancing, your interpretation of the musicality is your beat, right? And you're having that sync with the beat that you're actually hearing. So it means you're dancing to your own interpretation of the music, but you're also hearing the beat.
Wow. And so when this started, was it kind of the community was, all right, I just want to join, or was it kind of a process getting the students to kind of understand the program in a sense?
It was a process. So when I started, it was just mostly for like fun and just for the idea of it. Like I said, it was spontaneous, and I didn't really have a clear vision. It was just impulsive. So when we did that, it was basically college kids that. It's funny. I signed up a course for Nova ballroom class to get an easy A, because like I needed a rec class, and I was like, okay, you know what, I can do this, get an easy A, that's fine. I didn't know that I would be teaching that class. The teacher asked me to teach that class. The class that I was about to take, they asked me to teach. And that class, the college students that were attending that class, they were all down for the idea of learning a routine and be able to display it at a showcase. So that's what happened. And then after that, it just grew. But it was college kids were the prevalent audience, or people that were joining the team.
Yeah.
And then from there, over time, it just grew slowly and slowly and slowly. And that's how I guess Dance to Beat was started.
That's awesome. And then how did the partnership with you and Adriana really come about? Because I can really see, of course, Dance to Beat as a company itself, but definitely seeing you and Adriana really pushing that team further.
So how it came to fruition was, I remember I was at the salsa room and I saw her dancing, and I was like, this girl has potential. There's something about her that she has the X factor. So I approached her and I asked her, we're looking for a person to be on the dance company, and I would love to have you and have you be trained. She said no, just for the record. It's because at the time she was going to school and everything like that. And then I guess like a year later, there was a competition at Clarendon Grill. And I was trying to get my students at that time to participate in this competition just to get a feel of what a competition is in an environment that is more supportive, not like a true competition where everything's covered.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like, you know what? I think this Adriana girl is going to be perfect for one of my students. So I asked her and she obliged and they competed. But there was then that I asked her, if you're still interested, come check out one of my training classes and see if you want to join the team. So she did. And then from there, that's when everything started to come to fruition, because then she ended up starting taking private lessons because she really was serious about her dancing.
Mm-hmm.
As I saw her growth, that's when I tried the partnership with her, understanding that she's still growing, and that was how our partnership came into fruition.
That's awesome, because I mean, you understand from just seeing her at the salsa room, and then years later, just seeing how you guys' partnership on stage is like, the connection's there, the performance is there, but in off the stage, it's just that you guys are just great human beings. And for me, I really wanted to know, I mean, many people might know, but I would love to understand is when you were really starting to perform and to travel, what were some of your favorite events that you were able to go to during those times?
So when I was traveling, some of the favorite events that I would like to go is actually more of the local events. But if it's not a local event that we're talking about, I love Dallas Bachata Festival. Shout out to George. I think he does a phenomenal job of having his event be a reflection of who he is. And for people who don't know how George Elizondo is, like, please try to get to know him. He is the most humble, down-to-earth figure in the dance scene. And a lot of people don't know, and I was one of them, where he was one of the pioneers and one of basically the pillars in the dance scene that brought bachata to the U.S. and helped grow. A lot of people don't know that, and I wish like I knew about it sooner than how I found out. But nonetheless, that is one of my favorite. Phoenix Bachata Festival, I love it. It's an up-and-coming festival. Those are two ones that are like not locally that I love going to. And I would say like those two, and I don't know. That's a really good question. I didn't really put much thought into it. You caught me off guard.
No, and that's no, trust me. And I definitely have a segment called the randoms. It's gonna be the 10 question I'm gonna have for you in a few minutes. That's gonna kind of spice things up and try to get a little better understanding of yourself. But what you're saying, especially when you talked about Dallas and what George's approach, I loved was that how much attentiveness he put into his guests, but also the performers.
Yes.
Of even the simplistic thing as the artist room. And we know the artist room is just like, it literally is a room that all the artists can come 24/7 and just literally kick back and not worry about anything that's going on at that moment. But it also gives us a chance to have these conversations. I mean, these long conversations that go for hours, and we're like, oh man, we got to go to tech. Sorry, we'll come right back. But realizing the relationships and friendships that build from that, as well as the Phoenix Bachata Festival that I've heard so much about. And again, it shows a lot because, again, you're in DC and we know the local events. We know the salsa rooms. We know the bachata brunches and other events like that. But realizing when you step away from the local scene, how much other places have to offer, that really shows. And of course, even though what we're going through now, realizing that how much we miss it, how much, that last dance we had there means a lot. And, what I told you before too, is we're going now, I would love to go now into a segment called the random. So this is really about a 10 question, random questions that I've had. I asked Kat this as well and got to learn a lot more about her. And as she says here, some of the best people as well. We have here Tanya Smith. Brian is a fantastic instructor and social dancer. Can't wait to see him in Dance to Beat teach and perform again.
And thanks, Tanya.
Absolutely, and again, you just see how many people really love what you've done, love your contribution to the dance community. And I think with these questions here, it'll definitely have people understand you more. I think the first question, I might know the answer, but I'll let you answer it. So we're going to start now. And how we start is after each question, you have about 5 seconds to answer. So it's a quick,
Got it.
All right. So we're on the money. First question is favorite food.
PHO, 3 letters.
Oh, I already knew Vietnamese pho. I already know we were. Second question is, what is your favorite workout song?
Oh shoot! I don't work out with music. It's so weird because I get distracted. So no workout song for me.
All right, perfect. Dream vacation destination.
Ooh, it would be either Vietnam because I've never been there. I've always wanted to go there, or Brazil.
Okay. What did you want to be at 10 years old?
Power Ranger.
Oh man, me too. What's your spirit animal?
Shoot, a spirit animal. I think I would be a dragon.
Okay. Partner work or footwork?
Footwork.
All right. What would be your superpower?
Shoot, I would say to fly.
Okay.
Superman.
Yeah. Now this one I think is a little more deeper. 3 people that are most influential to you.
Ooh, I've been blessed to have a lot. So the 3 people that have been influential to me is Norman Tebow. He was actually my boss, and actually what started my dance career. He was the one that hired me for Fred Astaire out in Worcester, Massachusetts. Another one would be Kat. Till this very day, she has been instrumental to my dancing and my personal growth. And the last one, wow, this caught me off guard, is my dad. The reason why it caught me off guard is because the type of relationship that my father and I have is very Asian, very traditional. So sometimes in the Asian cultures, the parents don't exhibit love in a mannerism or way. But now that as I got older, I've been blessed about it. And some people don't know about this, but my dad almost died 2 years ago because he had a full-on heart attack. The aorta, which is the main artery, was completely blocked. It's the worst of all heart attacks. Yeah. And ever since then, it has united us even more. And he's been just helping without him knowing that he has been helping me. So I know my dad's not watching, but thank you, Dad.
Man, that's beautiful. I mean, again, even though, and we got a few more questions, but again, I appreciate you even saying this because, again, there are so many people in this world that have gone through similar situations and realizing that even with our families, that we have families that really don't exhibit that love and that emotion, like emotionless, that it can have an effect. But as we get older, we learn how to work with it and we realize our parents are really there for us.
Yep.
And the last 2 I have is, what is a special talent that no one probably knows you have?
Oh, shoot. Okay, special talent. I would say it would be that I am very good with, I guess, chopsticks, origami.
Okay. That's awesome. That origamis are a very tedious activity. And the last one would be, if you were on an island, what 3 things would you have with you?
Pho, a speaker, and a speaker, and I don't know. I can't think of a third thing. You got me. Man,
maybe a phone.
Questions.
See, it's simplistic questions, but it means so much because, when you're thinking about it, man, there's so much I want to take, or there's so many people I know, there's so many things I want. But again, I'm great that we can have this kind of just quick segment dialogue because these are 10 things that now I get to learn more about. But the first one I already knew because I've seen the videos at the pho. Like when you really did a video at a pho spot, I was like, okay, that takes it there. But now coming back into the dancing, a person that I constantly hear from you and I know it means so much is Kat. Kat Arias, and me having my previous discussion with her, but also being able to be introduced to her, and we've had our talks, realizing all of this, all the stuff this woman has been through. But when I asked her, how did she get started? And she mentioned you, and I was like, wow, to know the connection there was even, it goes way back. And for me, I would love to know also from your standpoint that relationship with you and Kat and how that really got started in terms of dancing.
So when I came there, I just left Arthur Murray. I came there with one of my mentors and friends at the time. His name is Sini, and we left Arthur Murray, and that was the closest studio that is near Arthur Murray, and we were just trying to see if there was an opportunity for me to teach.
Mm-hmm.
So at that time, she was working the front desk. Eventually, she became owner or part owner of Elan Dance Sport. That's the name of the studio.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't remember exactly when we gelled, but I know that it was almost instantaneous. She always had this very inviting personality, and she always exuded these warm vibes. It's so hard to not notice her because she's always like very infectious with her energy. But when we gelled right away. Like our chemistry was great. We were able to joke around a lot, and actually, we're both very witty. But I can safely say she's a little bit wittier than me, which bothers me sometimes because I try to outwit her. But other than that, like we became instant friends, and I really got to know her even more when it wasn't actually when she was the owner of Elan Dance Sport. It was right after, to see her like in handling these obstacles that came right after her really was very telling of her character, and really was something that was just like, wow, I'm very blessed to have this type of friend, and we're very blessed to know of this type of person. I think you hear it from like everyone in the dance scene or through the grapevines. Like she's truly is a pillar in the dance community.
Mm-hmm.
Truly. Without her, I don't think there's a lot of events or a lot of things that are possible that are happening today.
Mm.
I mean, I could go on and on about Kat, but
No, but again, it's like I appreciate it because it just shows the ultimate humility and the ultimate respect and understanding a person like herself who's dedicated so much time, and you being able to work with her, but then seeing the growth in the process keep evolving. And now, like you said, Kat Arias, in my opinion, like, and I agree, is one of the main pillars in our dance community, not just in DC, but I mean as a whole, but especially in DC, because events like Masters of Bachata, realizing with Ferocity, then taking it into the competition world. I mean, really exposing DC as a dance staple, because you have places like the Salsa Room that everyone all over the world seems to know about. But also realizing dancers like yourself, Adriana, and so many others that come in and out of that place, realizing that people like Kat are just one of those other figures that's still pushing DC out, the DMV area out there. And I really am loving to seeing the growth of you as a dancer, because we realize in our dance scene, especially bachata, the biggest issue is what is bachata in the sense of the sensual, the modern, the urban. There's so things are just constantly evolving, and there's actually here. Hold on one second. He says, "I have a question for tonight." Let me just take it off, and I'll read it to you, but I'll put it up as well.
Okay.
He asks, "I have a question for tonight's interview, Brian. When I met you 10 years ago at Elan Dance Sport, Kat Arias's former studio, I remember that you were very reserved in doing sensual to very sensual dance choreo and performance dancing and social dancing. Now, 10 years later, you seem very comfortable in doing that type of choreo. What changed or helped make you more comfortable during the last 10 years?"
Oh my God. Yeah. It's true what it said. Like, I would not want to do any body rolls. I was not. I think that to answer that question, I think it was because of my confidence. not understanding my body. When you start dancing, like you're always gonna have this image that you want to look like, but when you look in the mirror, it's like complete opposite. So when that happens, it kind of kills your confidence, and you're not really wanting to do those things that put you in a spot where you feel embarrassed or you don't think that you look great. So with that said, these quote unquote central movements, for those that really know about my style, more urban, but there might be elements of Dominican bachata, essential bachata, modern
Mhm.
bachata in my dancing, right? But the bread and butter is more urban influence. With that said, the confidence is what really helped me be able to be comfortable doing these type of movements that can be considered like more central side. I don't do it a lot, but when I do, like I'm now more comfortable than I was before. Because, like Benny had stated, I was absolutely against it. Absolutely.
And again, it's about the key word is the evolution, because the confidence in yourself builds over time as a dancer. Because I know many people that they kind of, when they're starting out, they're not trying to go outside the box. They're trying to stay where they are, focus on that. But you realize over time, your dancing evolves, your confidence evolves, and you become more of a complete dancer. So realizing, you can the same notions that you had previous 10 plus years later, they evolve, and maybe you think about things differently. Even having here the great, Kat, and here she even says, Brian and I have lived so many different lifetimes together. Truly blessed to have him in my life. Our friendship is truly special.
It is.
And it means so much to hear this and having her watch this interview, especially because realizing this is a true testament on how dance can bring people together,
Mm-hmm.
and realizing that even with your own personal issues in life, with your own world, and having her own world, but through dance, you guys came together. And 10 plus years later, or how many other years later, realizing that friendship and that bond just grows stronger. And realizing again that not just Kat, but yourself, you are becoming that pillar. You are becoming, when people are saying DC dance companies in terms of our world as well, they're saying your name is coming up, whether you know it or not.
That's
And
so
that's also
weird.
for, yeah, it's to be honest, it feels weird because you're just so focused and tunnel vision, but it's the people from the outside looking in,
Mm-hmm.
especially because me as a videographer, I really want to give props to Kyle Magami. And I mean that because, and people who don't know, he does SBKZ Media, and his videos go viral so many times. But when he started working with you, I was saying he knows exactly how he's filming it, because he can tell, he knows your facial expressions, he knows your tendencies, your movements. Because, like you said, the confidence, because you realize you're only going to understand your confidence when you see yourself on camera. And then you can say, I like this, I don't like this. So, as a videographer, watching from the outside, saying, wow, Kyle really knows how to film these two, because it's the simplisticness, it's the humility, it's the genuineness. That's the key word. He knows how to film the genuineness because, as you said, you're a very chill person. You're not, like, maybe not crazy out there. So he knows how to work with it. Instead of making you into a character, he is just focusing on you and your subject and your partner, and making both of you just look like a movie. And it's
Yep.
very, the 1 minute half clips you guys do, it means a lot because it's really now elevating, or it's really inspiring other dancers to say, wow, we don't need huge lights and big bright lights. We can use the outdoors, we can use scenic areas, we can even use a pho shop to do these type of visuals. And again, I definitely want to give my love out to him and support, because it's videographers like that are really putting out names like yourself and Adriana on what you guys are doing. And I want to kind of understand, before even COVID happened, what was the last event that you actually attended?
Last event. Last event that I attended or taught at, I think it was Benga's Valentine's event in February, out in Ohio. I think it's Ohio.
Mhm.
After that, I can't think of any other events that I was like attending.
Wow. And see, but you realize now it's like when you're thinking about it, and shout outs to Benga out there, man. I definitely love Benga, especially when he comes to Dallas. He is crazy as can be.
Yep.
But it's really real like when it makes you think like, wow, I haven't been not so much I haven't been dancing, but like the actual last event before all of this has happened was that. And it's like you kind of get those memories flooding in.
Yep.
And it's like, for me too, like I've told a lot of the guests, doing this podcast has made me realize how much I miss dance, but also made me realize how much this of what's been happening has affected the dance community because we thrive on connection.
Mm-hmm.
We thrive on being close to one another. So when something like this happens and it makes us kind of separate for a while, like we've talked privately as well, realizing over the last few months and really the regulations are easing and now businesses are slowly coming back, we are realizing now events and people who are now doing things the correct way, the safe way. And definitely, at least before we get into that, seeing here, Sherry Mendoza says, love how there is space for multiple dance companies in our area, and it is vital for companies to work together. This is what I have learned from my own dance coach, Kat, and I see it in Dance to Beat too.
Thanks, Jerry.
Yeah, and then Benny actually has one more question before we get into kind of what's happening now. Is talk about that video you did with Adriana and the mattress on the floor.
Oh my God.
To be honest
That
with you,
was out of
that
my
was awesome. I loved it.
Oh my God. That's so first of all, shout out to again to Kyle, and also Kyle, and I remember it was at Phoenix Bachata Festival, and I saw Ed, and I haven't seen Ed for a long time. Ed is another videographer that I think that he doesn't get enough credit. He's
Mhm.
also just like Kyle. They both have such a great eye and great vision, and just the way they do their videos is art, and I
Mhm.
appreciate art, and I them too, like, and like it's just I don't know. And for those that don't know who Ed is, check him out. But that was his idea. He was like, hey, I have this idea where for this song you're gonna be half naked and you're just gonna be on a bed. And I was like, okay. And just to give you guys a backstory on it, I was like, not feeling it because I haven't worked out for a while. I was a big chubcito, and I was just like, oh man, this is gonna be so weird. So when we did that video, it was really uncomfortable for me. He was like, okay, you gotta feel it, you gotta be sexy. I'm like, what? How? Like, I don't know how to be sexy. Being sexy is not part of my forte. For those that don't know, but yeah.
Wow, and just realizing again, it's like you being totally fully transparent and understanding, like, some people just see the video and they automatically say, like, wow, he felt this, he loved this, but no, I was uncomfortable. No, it wasn't as easy, but you made it work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something, again, that's another piece of art, and realizing you allowed the videographer to create the vision. And then, of course, Benny wants to ask, how many push-ups do you do to look sore?
20.
And,
Benny. 20.
man, and it's a beautiful thing because, to be honest, as a videographer, I really appreciate the art and understanding the cameraman's vision in the eye, because they see something maybe you don't, but then when you see it at the end, you see the big picture, and it's like, wow.
Yeah.
And again, I definitely appreciated that. And, it definitely helps you now understand. And that's stuff that I missed, that we had those opportunities, because with COVID happening, it really changed our community a lot, because, again, we thrive on being close to one another. And this is something that we can't do that. We weren't able to do that. But realizing then over time, I think in the last, because this has been going on since about maybe mid-February, I would say, into early March, and realizing our favorite congresses, festivals, weekenders, socials were done for many, many months. But also realizing that a lot of our schools were now being closed.
Yeah. That's so
And
sad.
that was a heartbreaking thing for myself, to see a lot of schools from different areas being closed, but then also, realizing that eventually we will get back into not a normal, but a new normal. And one thing I've definitely talked to you about was the appreciation that I've had for you and your company in taking this virus very seriously, because the safety first approach, and also you telling me how I believe it's Adriana has worked in the medical field with infectious diseases, having that knowledge, having that insight, having that information firsthand, I think is very essential. And again, I definitely, I would love for you to expand more on that. But again, I did want to thank you for really being one of those few, and I would say few, organizations that really took this seriously.
Hmm. So I've been very fortunate throughout COVID, um, to be able to be surrounded by resources or by people that are very well educated with COVID, with how to go about it, about the virus and stuff, about everything that pertains to it. And for those that don't know, Adriana has been a great resource, a great asset to us figuring out a guideline, a procedure, an action plan for our dance company in terms of how to go about practices, how to transition. And actually, for those that don't know, we're going to be hosting our first social on September 26th. And people will see that how we go about it is very well thought out, but it's going to be a lot of intricate parts to it to ensure that we create the safest environment possible for our students, for the dancers. So, with that said, a little bit about Adriana. She used to be a nurse for infectious disease, and when COVID hit, she was front and center in terms of the education of COVID and how seeing what's going on, how to respond, how to prevent, and everything like that. And now she's currently with the task force, COVID task force with the government. So Dance2Beat has been extremely blessed in terms of having this type of asset to help us
Mhm.
deal with creating procedures and guidelines for people to practice with us and to attend our social.
And that's the thing, is that especially over this past few months, I myself, I have to admit, I've definitely have taken or spoken out a lot about of the organizers and promoters that honestly have been doing this unsafely, and realizing they're really a more of a for-profit based rather than for their people and for their community. Because again, I have seen many instances of different places doing it soon, and people caught this, and it's kind of, I don't know what to do now, and hopefully things get better. But again, I really thank you and Adriana, but also thanking the whole Dance to Beat family there, of really again taking this serious and realizing and seeing also the videos of you guys practicing and using that large space. Mind you, that is a amazing space you have, but seeing everyone wearing a mask, everyone being socially distant. But the one thing everybody has in common as well, everybody's having fun.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows is that just because you're being a little more safe than you were 8 to 10 months ago, you can still have fun.
Yeah.
And especially now, you're saying having your event this September 26th, realizing that you're putting your business on the line and saying, hey, we are doing things the right way, safely, and still allowing people to come, have fun, have a great time. Because again, people miss dance. But again, it's better to do this safely, because again, this is a type of virus that can affect our community even worse
Yep.
if we don't take it serious. And again, I let people know is that, hey, even though it doesn't affect you, and you have that feeling of it doesn't affect you, it doesn't affect you, it can affect someone else. And
Yeah.
realizing again, if we want to get back to having fun, if you want to get back to having packed events, and things are going to change, and we're going to have to live with that. Normal congresses probably won't be the same as they were. But again, as artists like yourself that are really doing the right thing at the right time in the right place, that right there is inspiring and is a testament of saying, hey, when you put safety first, you're always going to win. And again, it's just like, hey, um, being an observer and realizing what you have done for so many years in your dance community, it definitely means a lot when you really are focusing on the people first, and but you're still making amazing content. You're still, creating choreographies, because a lot of times during these times, dancers get dancers block, and it's like, where's the inspiration coming from? But it's also you as an instructor, your students are finding that inspiration within you and realizing that you care about them and they care about you. And I'm really just happy to see, especially in the DC scene, that Dance to Beat is really, like, I would say, a pillar in that dance community of doing things the right way.
Thank
And
you.
honestly, again, I've been really, really thankful that I've been able to speak to you and learn a lot more about you. And at least before we close things out, I would love to see if you have any last few words for myself and the audience as well.
So I want to say thank you, Diamond, for considering me. I remember when you reached out to me, I was like, wait, I saw all the like awesome headlining names. I was like, wait, why me? I was just another Joe Schmo living in your world. So
Oh
thank
my
you
God.
for considering me, and I've always enjoyed our conversations. We don't get to see each other a lot, but I feel like when we do, we have a lot of meaningful talks, and I
Yeah.
always appreciate each one of them. And other than that, like, I just want to say thank you for having me. Thank you to everyone watching, and yeah.
No, no, absolutely. And again, what you said, especially being a person in the dance community, I think when we're at events, we're so focused on just having fun.
Mhm.
And a lot of times we're not really discussing the issues that maybe are bothering us while in this community a lot. Because I've been, like you said, with the many people that I've had thus far, and believe it or not, about 98% of the people I've talked to, I know them personally. I've had a relationship with them. I've worked with them or filmed them, or we just know. So it's not usually a person that doesn't knows nothing about you. It's
Mhm.
usually a person, like for me, I'm coming from a place of love and saying, it's not just a simple mind you, I have no questions written down. The only ones I had written down was the randoms. So it's me feeding off of you. It's me understanding and listening to your story because it means so much. That's why when we are able to see one another at places like Dallas, I come with you just wanted to know, how are you doing?
Mhm.
Because I know how you're doing dance wise. I'm watching it, but I just want you to know that I care about you as a person.
Thank you.
Because
That means a lot.
off the stage, I think a lot of dancers, and I've talked to them privately and personally and publicly, that's something that gets lost,
It does.
is the human aspect. Because why I do this podcast as well is to help myself, but help other people that admire you or know of you, to say, man, I learned a lot more about Brian off the stage. So you have that similarity and that connection. And you never know, the next time when you do go out somewhere, somebody will come to you like, wow, I didn't know that about you. So it helps me, helps other people just get to know you better. And again, I definitely appreciate you being able to come on tonight and take the time out. And Carissa Bates says that video, the big room with everyone socially distanced, etc., is the only reason I started dancing again. Really appreciate this from someone who deals with being immunocompromised.
Aw, Carissa.
And again, it's you're realizing that even the smallest things you're doing, the smallest contributions make a large effect.
Mhm.
So for me, I was thankful at least to you to take your time out. And at least before we go, do you have any contact information and definitely more information on this social September 26th?
Yes. So if you guys are have any questions in regards of like Dance to Beat, or just want to ask me any questions, so there's my personal Facebook, which is Brian Le, but there's also Dance to Beat. We have a public page. Feel free to message us. We can, if you guys have any questions regarding to either the social or just dancing in general, we're available to reply. Man, I'm really bad with interviews. Just to let everyone know, I was telling Diamond I'm nervous because I'm not really good with interviews.
But I mean, to be honest, I think you lied because you did pretty well today. You know what it is? It's just, again, when you have somebody that just understands you in a sense and just wants you to be comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not really asking just like rapid fire questions, just like, hey, just tell me your story. And we're going to build from that. And because again, you realize that a person actually cares about what happened to you before where you got to where you are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so again, nervous or not, you did an amazing job. I mean, when we finish this now, you're going to see all the comments and what everybody was putting. And, you know, again, I just want you to know how much I appreciate you, what you've done for the dance community, but also what the students and the community itself feels. So, you know, again, I thank you so much, Brian. Any new information that you'll have on Facebook and Instagram, I'll definitely be reposting. And like I tell a lot of my guests, this is our first interview, but I definitely don't want it to be our last. And I would love to have you on later this year, getting more information on Dance to Beat and also how the socials and events are going. So again, I thank you, Brian, for taking the time out. We'll definitely be in contact soon. And I'm definitely as well, I want to get an interview with you and Adriana one day. So we're going to make that happen.
Good.
Absolutely, Brian. So I hope you're staying safe out there. I hope the Facebook community is doing well. I love you all. Thank you, Brian, again. And definitely stay safe. And we will be in touch soon.
Thank you. Take care.
All right. Take care, everyone. Have a great night.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Peace.